Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. The bill before you, as you know, is the sale, would assist in the sale of the Convention Center Hotel, actually to two entities. One would be separating the Lennox off, and the other would be renovating or selling the Renaissance Grand. It would be branded in the future as a Marriott after renovations, extensive renovations. And that's the reason that the bill is before you today, because we passed the bill back in January for the original sale. However, one of the things that happens in a sale like this is in order to brand, they have to go and have Marriott look over what they're planning to do and critique that. When they critiqued it, they figured that the cost to bring it up to a Marriott standard would be more than had been originally projected, and that is why the bill is before you today.
Are there any questions of the sponsor, Alderman Kennedy? Alderwoman Florida?
No questions.
Vice Chairman Davis?
No questions.
Alderman French?
Yeah, so just to be clear, how this relates to the previous bill and ordinance that we passed. So the sale has not been completed yet?
Sale cannot be completed until this is passed by the board, and it's anticipated that the
And
sale would take place like June 1st.
And the sticking point is the additional money needed, they felt they needed to upgrade the hotel.
That's right, there's a $7 million difference between what they had originally projected and what Marriott came back with.
Gotcha. All right, just to make that clear, thanks.
Alderman Ornowitz?
No questions.
Alderman Carter?
So, so if this bill wouldn't pass, how would this impact the city now?
The sale could collapse. The bondholders would have threatened at times to sell it on open market as junk bonds. So the hotel would not get renovated. It would not operate as a good convention center hotel. And I think the other thing is that we have a HUD 108 loan outstanding on this, and so it's in first place, as I understand it, in the financing, but I think that could be in jeopardy as well, because we really wouldn't have anybody to pay us to cover that loan, and it would have to come out of our block grant, I assume. That's the way we paid for it previously, I believe, when there was a discrepancy.
So we would have to cover the rest out of future block grant.
Well,
That's all, speculation, I don't know.
yeah, we do have it. We're secured, David Richardson with Hush Blackwell representing the city. We're secured with deeds of trust to make sure that they make the payments, but again, if someone doesn't make the payment, then, again, if the bondholders didn't make the payment, we'd have to start foreclosure proceedings, and then again, it would be sold on the courthouse steps. And again, the goal here is to get the rehabilitation of the hotel done, the $22 million of new work to convert it to a Marriott, and the $19 million of work to reopen the Lennox. Because the bondholders, again, are not gonna make those improvements. They're not hotel owners, they're bondholders who took back a hotel.
Okay, thanks.
Alderwoman Tyus?
Thank you so much. I'll have questions. I was here for the original one. And so everything that you're saying now is what I said would happen 12, 14 years ago. It's so interesting. So now we're doing the thing that very much that we said would not happen. So let me understand this again. So the 108 loan, the 108 money is the security for the loan. Is that correct?
No, I think sorry.
Thank you.
I can answer.
Because that's why I'm trying to get clear what you said this time.
No, the city took out a 108 loan from
Right.
HUD,
Yes, okay.
and we used those loan proceeds to help with the original hotel project back in 2000 at that closing.
Right.
And now the city owes HUD, the outstanding balance on the HUD loan is approximately $26 million.
We still owe 26 million?
Yes,
How much was the original loan?
50,
Okay, so we paid out approximately half,
correct.
okay?
And that 26 gets repaid by payments that the owners of the hotel have to make.
Okay, and so you're saying if we don't refinance, what will happen?
if we don't, if we don't do this amendment, or we don't have
Yes.
again, if this doesn't pass, then the contract expires on June 1st.
The contract with whom and whom?
There's a contract between the bondholders and Haverhill, which is buying the Grand, and a contract between the bondholders and Merritt's Wolf, who's buying the Lennox.
So it's actually, okay, so it's two different contracts.
Correct.
Okay. So who is that one, paper holders, did you say?
The bondholders,
Mhm.
which is a group.
No, you said there's a contract, I thought you said between the,
Oh, Haverhill? is-
Haverhill,
And
okay.
again, in the packet that
Right.
we gave you ahead of
oh, and
information
then the
about
other one with the Lennox is with,
Merritt's Wolf.
okay? And so, but they are contingent upon both happening. Is there a contingency on both of the contract that says both have to happen?
From the bondholder's perspective, yes.
Okay. And the bondholder are having a contract with both of the other two?
Yes.
Right. And do we have a list of bondholders, or is that something unmanageable that we don't have a list?
We don't, because it's not public
Public.
information.
Okay, it's a private deal, and so, and I'm still trying to, okay, so if we don't do this deal, there could be a chance that the 108 loan may be in jeopardy because we won't have anybody to pay it back.
No, we would still have the bondholders to pay it back.
Mm-hmm.
What would be in jeopardy is getting the Lennox, there wouldn't be a reopening of the Lennox, and there wouldn't be any investment in the Grand, because the bondholders are not gonna put money into it, because they've already lost a bunch of money.
So the bondholders won't put money into it,
Correct.
and so they're the equity stakeholders, right? Because they're the ones that have the equity, that they've already lost a lot of their own money into it, okay?
Correct.
And so then your anticipation would be then we would have to foreclose? That's
Well-
what you would see, and we'd be in the city when we say we.
If the bondholders did not make the payments, then we would pursue foreclosure, because we wouldn't have the money then to pay the 108.
And so what would foreclosure do for us? We'd be just like a bank that foreclosed on an old lady's house that can't pay, or a young person's house that can't pay, for that matter. So if you get a lot of this property, so what then, and I wanna make sure, we're saying we, the city, right?
Correct.
What will we do with foreclosure then?
So I assume that there'd be someone who would bid on the courthouse steps, and we wouldn't know who that would be and what they would do with it.
Okay. Because in a foreclosure, and I'm trying to think this, when we foreclose, we would have to try to sell it to do what? To repay, okay, and I'm just trying to follow the step. Why would we sell it instead of keeping it?
Because you would have to pay HUD, so and again, to keep it, it would go to the courthouse steps. And I
But if it goes to
assume,
the courthouse steps, though, it's going to sell for pennies on the dollars, right?
well, what probably would happen is you'd be foreclosing on the current payment that's due, which would be around $4 million.
Okay,
And I assume there'd be someone on the courthouse steps who would bid more than the $4 million.
right,
But we wouldn't know who that was
I
and what they were
understand
gonna do and what kind of investment they were gonna make.
right. I'm saying, but so if they bought it for less, so it's 4 million, so say they bid, cause I'm sure that somebody will bid 5 or 6 because you got so much other
Right.
equity in this, so let's just say somebody bought it, why would we sell it for $4 or $10 million? Why wouldn't we then try to keep it and come up with the money rather than put it on the courthouse steps? And try to make the payments ourselves if that push came to shove,
If you make the payment yourself, then the bondholders still own it.
okay? Okay, so we have to actually sell it.
But if I could interrupt, the real risk is that the bondholders, if the hotel's operating below operating, so their operating expenses exceed revenue, which is, I think, if you're the bondholder, you would go ahead and you'd turn out the lights, and then you'd do an auction on it. And of course, the first proceeds of the auction would go to the 108. But you're creating a whole level of uncertainty that could play out for several years that would.
I understand
Yeah,
uncertainty, it was
yeah.
uncertain when we did this deal, and, well, in fact, it wasn't, cause it was a bad deal, so it wasn't uncertain. We were certain that we were gonna be sitting right here today, just like we are.
I would agree with you, it was a bad deal, but I'm not sure that the city got hurt in this deal. Let me explain why.
Oh, okay,
The
well-
108, we're gonna get paid back from. We got a hotel that cost a whole lot more than what it's worth, that somebody else lost $30 or $40 million to build, we received, a fair amount of tax revenue over that period. So while it was a really bad deal for the folks who got the tax credits and loaned the money on the hotel, I'm not sure it was a bad deal for the city.
Well, I don't just look at the city as downtown, so when I look at the city, I look at what benefit did I get in my community and where I live, and so, and that was a bad deal. It was a bad deal for the 21st Ward, it was a bad deal for the old 20th Ward, it was a bad deal for the 27th, it was a bad deal for communities that could have used that money. So for me, it was a bad deal, because downtown is not in itself a neighborhood, okay? So for me, it was a bad deal. So going back to this, so we have these bondholders, but did we also, when we put this deal together, don't we also have what's known as managing partners, or people who take development money off the top of it, right?
The owners of it were HRI out of New Orleans,
I'm
and
familiar.
its partner, tax credit partner, was a division of Kimberly Clark.
Right, and so did they get paid money off the top of the deal?
My recollection of the deal was there was a deferred developer fee that they never got
So there
because it
was
never
never,
performed.
there was no, are you telling me there was no development fee paid to anybody?
I think there was a deferred development fee. I don't think they got any at closing, was my recollection. And they lost, they had equity in the deal. Both Kimberly Clark and HRI had equity, which they lost.
Well, I understand that, but, okay, so I can be an equity owner and also a managing partner. So my question is, did the people who were the managing partners or the developers, were they paid any money for development fees?
Kimberly Clark definitely not, and HRI, my recollection is they were not paid one at closing, and it was a deferred payable out of cash flow if the hotel performed, which I don't think it ever performed up to allow them to have a payment.
Is there someone who can give me a definite answer?
HRI, I mean, we wouldn't have,
So we
the
don't
city
have
would
any of
not.
that information. When we do these deals, then we don't have any ability to go back and find out what's going on. It's set up a certain way, and most certainly if it had been successful, we know they would have taken it, but since it's not successful, we don't know what they did, because
Correct.
it becomes private after that. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Okay. I want to know who brought down the people who testified before us. Was that?
That was me.
Okay. I want to just address that a little bit. I was disappointed in the people who came down. For one thing, it showed very clearly. The reason I had some questions that I asked, and the reason that I asked the questions is because I think that they were brought down to show us how important jobs are. Jobs are important to me. But it also showed me how none of the people who live in my community were employed by that, okay? It was glaring in the fact that the people, Leroy Campbell, South Side, Lartisha Quizma, South Side, Mary, Illinois, Ronnie, South Side, LaDonna, Centerville, Walter Carr, said he grew up in Carr Square but had moved to South Side, Walter Dye, South Side, Heather, Lion Cook, St. Charles. That does not convince me. That convinces me more than ever how unfair this deal would be structured, that you don't have people that live in my community working, okay? So we use things that should have been used for my community to improve it, and then we don't even hire, or we didn't find the right kind of people to bring down to even say, because if you're gonna lobby Sharon Tice, let me just tell you, y'all better bring some people that can vote for me, okay? Because when you call me and you live in St. Charles, you're not lobbying me. And that was very appalling to me to hear all these people say where they worked, and I'm for jobs, but now I'm working in my community, because I'm for jobs for all parts of the city, not for one that excludes my community, especially considering that the 108 money was so important to my community. And I have no further comments.
Thank you, Alderman. I probably broke protocol here. We had the president present. We're honored to have the president with us this morning, and I neglected in offering him an opportunity to ask questions at the beginning. Mr. President, you have any questions?
I would just like to thank all the members of the committee and Alderwoman from 7th for all of your work on this bill.
That's easy. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion on this.
So
I move that we pass out board bills 9 and 9.
Moved and Somebody second. Second. All those in favor say aye. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Florida.
Aye.
Vice Chairwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderman French.
Pass.
Alderman Arnowitz.
Aye.
Alderman Carter.
No.
Alderman Tyus.
No.
Chairman Rhodey.
Aye.
Alderman French.
Present.
President Reed.
Aye.
Pardon me. 6 aye votes, 2 no votes, 1 present vote. Board Bill 39 comes out with a due pass recommendation.
Meeting adjourned.